Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cult of Cantona, or as we've accidentally called it in our WhatsApp group, the Cockpad podcast. I'm Paul, that's a man, and that's the other Paul O'Brien, and we've loads to talk about. I'm sorry we were off the air because Paul impregnated 16 women.
I've gone and or at least one of whom I'm married to, so it is okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that. I'm expecting my second baby, who will be a Man United fan.
Great, I hope so. How's everybody doing?
Grand. We're missing the match.
We're quite literally missing the match. We did watch about half of the match, but means must with the small amount of time that we have available to us.
Yeah.
We've loads to get through because loads has been happening since we've been on. Where do we start? I was acutely aware of the last couple of episodes just being absolute cynic fucking rabbit holes. And we're gonna at least try to look for some positives and stop farting in this episode.
It's very gassy room.
So I'm going to start with the buzz that was happening in the last couple of weeks over the new holy trinity of Højlund, Garnacho and Mainu, and let's talk positively about that, although Højlund's out injured now for the next couple of weeks. But how good are they? Where's that going for us? Is that something to frame the future around? Is it, are they as good as we think they are? Or are we just fucking, clinging on to any sort of positivity that's happening? They just sat on an advertising hoarding.
I loved that.
That's going to be an iconic photo.
Even if I'm looking at this with rose-tinted glasses, them trio have made being a Man United fan over the past few weeks feel great again, because it's felt like it's been a while.
Do you think they planned that though? Sitting on the board.
He was replicating somebody else's celebration, wasn't he? Garnacho. Was it a Ronaldo thing?
Wasn't there a West Ham? Look, was it Ronaldo or a West Ham? Wasn't there a West Ham?
Something along that line. But I thought it was amazing. I seen that Champions League game with Højlund. I thought he looked great when he scored the 2 goals, and I knew he had it in him. Yeah. Great to see him start to perform now.
Yeah, I used to do that celebration when I was on the bench all the way through the teens. But yeah, no, Højlund, and God, Jesus, he seems as if he's the real deal, and then boing, the course of the fucking injury, typical of United this season.
Well, we said before, when he wasn't scoring the goals, we were saying he's got everything that he needs. Pace, power, height, good technique. And all he needed was one goal to go in, and the floodgates would open, and that seems to have been the case. And he just can't stop scoring at the moment.
Yeah, I felt as if he was going to come good. I felt like I really believed in him in a way that I haven't with any other, apart from Igalo or Igolo, as I called him from the start.
Yeah, one of the absolute greatest to ever kick a ball, not only for Man United, was Odion Igalo.
Igalo was, the real dealio.
Only it was a loan. I remember prior to that, it was like Henrik Larsson was my favourite ever loan move.
Yeah,
and it was Odion Igalo.
No, all joking aside, he seems like the real deal. And then Haaland goes on and a week later and scores 5 goals.
Five, didn't he?
Yeah. So look, that's interesting to see the kind of dynamic between them as the years go by. That's something that's going to be really something to look forward to.
Haaland had took Accutane as a medicine.
What's that?
It is to get rid of severe acne.
Oh.
Now, maybe, just maybe, looking at Højlund's face, has the Accutane helped Haaland? I mean, there's no medical basis for that, or no. But I mean,
is Sudocrem? People not use Sudocrem anymore
in Ireland. Yeah, that got rid of all my acne anyway. But Accutane might be the way to go.
To
make him look prettier and more poster Jack for the front and centre.
In fairness, though, he is starting to look like the guy in Hellraiser who's kept in the room, isn't he? I'm like, somebody get him fucking to his dermatologist immediately. But a good-looking kid, and and not as if he's going to be watching this, but
doesn't matter.
Imagine he did, and his feelings were really hurt, and we completely destroyed any reputation we had.
He'd give a zero fucks about us, even if he was watching. But yeah, Garnacho's going to be quiet. I think he started believing his own hype a little bit in the last couple of games. I don't know, but it is looking promising. Mainu, there's talk of him. Manio, Manicu, Manny Packin Manio. There's talk of him with the English, with the English squad. I personally, he's such a cool customer. I think he'd walk into the England squad and look like he was playing there for the last 10 years as well.
Who was he in contention with to get into that squad?
Jordan Henderson, Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, and with Calvin Phillips' recent run of getting sent off.
Calvin Phillips.
God, it's been shocking, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's like a Gallo when we got a Gallo on loan that time, and he was crap as well.
Yeah,
we like him. I can't remember what our view is on a Gallo.
No, I love him. Yeah, so I think he'd waltz into that squad and look like he's been there his whole life.
He should be on the plane to the Euros, like that. A midfield of Rice, Bellingham, and Mainu.
That sounds like an aid package. Mainu and Rice being dropped over to fucking some third world country.
The Basmati Busquets is what we call him.
Injuries. Let's talk about some injuries, and it's been. Look, I think it's the type of thing that looking back over, in 2 years, the Ten Hag thing, he's not covering himself in glory that. When the players are out, now in fairness, he did say something interesting in a press conference yesterday or the day before, saying that look, how can I be under fire when I went 2 months without losing a game or drawing or losing a game, and that was his kind of logic. Are we ridiculously over reactionary to every little thing he does or doesn't do? You would look back, any other manager, look at Klopp and all of the stuff about the kids winning the cup over the weekend. Should Ten Hag be working that's one game in fairness with Klopp, and it's not like he's working miracles every single week. Liverpool are not playing particularly well over the last couple of games either. 3 or 4 years down the line, we look back and go, that whole season was just ravaged by injuries. Is the mainstream media being too hard on us? Should Ten Hag, we had this out already in the last episode, should he still be there next season? Shouldn't he be? Why should he be there, and why shouldn't he be? If he shouldn't be there, why? Why?
I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's anything concrete about it, but it doesn't seem to me that any of us kind of fancy him at all. All the questions going to Sir Jim Ratcliffe about keeping him on. He's very dodgy with his words, trying desperately not to give away what he's actually thinking.
Almost like a billionaire who's done multi-million deals.
Well, I don't think they seem too keen on him, to be fair, but we'll see.
There's no kind of very concrete kind of coming out in favour of the manager type talk either from him, is there? Which if you had Fergie and you were Jim Ratcliffe, you'd be like, I can't wait to see where this goes with Sir Alex. So it's a little concerning. I don't think they fancy him, but I think that. What do you think, Paul?
I would still be sad to see him go. I think he does need the time. I said in the last podcast he should be allowed to finish 8th in the league and still have enough about him to rebuild that squad next year. I don't like Goldbridge, but he made the point. I don't know if you've seen his rant about the shit on the carpet.
No, what did he say?
He said, the problem is still the same. There's a shit on the carpet. The problem is the shit in the carpet. And Man United, they keep coming in and saying, what else could it be that's smelling up the place? Is it the shit? No, it's something else. It's the shit. Pick up the Rashford is the shit. And I don't like him. That rant was brilliant. I think the injury crisis worries me on a whole different level, because I'm left to wonder, I said this in the group, is there a psychological edge to it or elements to it? Going back to Steven Gerrard when he said about Daniel Sturridge, he said there was never anything wrong with him. He just thought he couldn't play. He just thought he was unfit. And he begged Sturridge, where players short. He'd be like, Luis Suarez is walking there with gashed legs. He needs stitches. He'd need X, Y, and Z. He'd never fail. Now I see, how often has Bruno Fernandes been injured for Man United?
Very seldom.
How frequently does he get battered on the pitch?
He gets kicked around.
Right? So we've gone and signed players like Mason Mount, who hasn't completed 90 minutes of football.
He's having a great time doing this though on the sidelines.
What was that all about?
60
million for him, and a Chelsea player that they didn't want in his last year of his contract. 60 million, gets the number 7, plays, is on the pitch, represented Man United 8 times, and has done absolutely nothing but sit in the physio room. What's going on? That's my concern with Ten Hag. The recruitment. What's he doing? Why did he want Mason Mount so badly?
Yeah.
When James Maddison was available, I know they're a slightly different position, but what's going on there? Has he just
here's the thing, right? If he has a Bruno Fernandes, why is he signing a Mason Mount as backup for Fernandes? Because they're ostensibly Mount at his best was very similar to what Fernandes is at his best, as in a number 10, sitting behind the front two. So
they can't play together.
So why would he sign him?
He signed him predominantly as a box to box.
But he's not the box to box.
That's but these are Ten Hag's words. He's at best a box to box.
He's playing the whole. This is the thing. There's an over familiarity with him which really bugs me, where he's managed players or people have been in his periphery at some point in the past, and they might have had a good season playing in a shite league, or they might have had a good match playing against Ten Hag in some capacity. It just seems a little bit narrow-minded and short-sighted to the point where I'm looking at some of the players now, particularly Anthony, who I fucking despise. Every time I look at him, he annoys me, and it's what bugs me the most is his arrogance on the ball and shaking his head when he's fucked up doing a little trick or whatever. And I get it, the psychological aspect, and I'm sure there's stuff going on in his life. That's grand, but there was stuff going on in Roy Keane's life, and he still won fucking X amount of leagues, 10 leagues or 8 leagues or whatever, seven premierships I think it was. You know, everyone has stuff in their lives. You're an elite player or you're an elite athlete or you're not. And if you're not an elite player, you should not be playing for Man United.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. If we want to compete against City, which is part of the rallying call of ratified Cliff, these players have to go. If they're not doing it, get fucking rid of them. Stick them out on loan. Out on loan, it's weird that And another thing that's very confusing is why were players going out on loan that had huge potential, Pellistri, Hannibal, and yet fucking Anthony stays on. It's shocking. There's my little.
It's been a strange scenario. When Ten Hag took over, I remember thinking, hopefully we're not going to start this season with Fred and McTominay in the centre of midfield. And then Man United.
Wishes granted. You get 2 more wishes.
Man United have a TikTok. Well, we did. We started our first game of the season with Fred and McTominay. We're in the starting lineup for Ten Hag's first game.
Big Fred is inevitable.
But the first thing Man United released on their TikTok was a welcome back video of Phil Jones on a doctor's cart with the Chamillionaire song. They see me rolling. I'm like, I think they think this is funny, but we're looking to have a new manager come in. We're looking for a refreshed team, and we're getting Phil Jones on an injury cart and a welcome back. That wound me up so bad. I was like, there's nothing funny about this. And then, of course, we line up, and there's Fred and McTominay starting in centre midfield.
It's bizarre.
Talking about Frankie de Jong all year, Fred and McTominay.
Yeah, there's too many punts. I mean, I will say one thing. The one thing he did get right was the Johnny Evans thing.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal.
When he comes on, he's just the coolest cat. Yeah. 60-yard passes, no bother to him. He came on in the last 15 minutes a couple of games ago, and he looked like he was 27. It was crazy. I'm looking at him going, he's so agile.
He's really putting a lot of the younger lads to shame, Yeah. Some of the ones that are showing or displaying not up to par attitude. And then you look at Johnny Evans, the example he's setting. It's it should be an inspiration, but apparently not.
Really I think he's muck.
Who, Johnny Evans?
Yeah. I think that's I feel like
what team were you watching?
I think we're making do with what we have. I think of our singing the praises of a 37-year-old Johnny Evans.
I'm a 41-year-old, so go easy.
But you're not playing for Man United.
Yeah, but I still have it in.
No, I don't think he's been muck necessarily, but I think he's been far from sensational or brilliant. I think.
So where are you on the Harry Maguire thing? By that, right?
Oh, amazing player. I think he gets too.
Harry Maguire had fucking 2 months where he's playing well, and then he was out injured, and then come back.
I was thinking
the same Harry Maguire again.
I was thinking of that. Was he playing well, or was he playing
okay?
Was he just not making mistakes? Because I think that's the thing with Johnny Evans. He doesn't make mistakes. He's kind of on it, but he's by no means somebody I'm very happy to see in the lineup. I think he just doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't put that many feet wrong. He puts in a shift.
Yeah.
But
Or he
the
shouldn't
level
be
of
starting
skill
games.
compared to his level of effort is not what Man United need right now. And
Yeah, but he has an honesty of effort. An honesty of effort.
I disagree. I think he's really good to have around. He shouldn't be starting games, but as a
no,
fourth
man, I
choice-
want everyone to agree with me.
as a fourth choice. That's he's
And
ideal.
he's been first choice pretty much majority of the season through
Yeah,
some
that's
means or
through
another.
injuries, and
Is there a problem with, like, is our medical staff off here?
half of them got fired, didn't they?
Yeah.
Didn't we take that book from Arsenal, who was always swinging hammers at Jack Wilshere's legs? Isn't he our physio now? Hey Jack, how are you getting on? Good.
Harold Shippen.
We should trust him.
Would you like a massage, Jack? Cracked femur.
Theo Walcott on the other.
I
on
don't
the
know.
other bed.
There's something very awry. And look, here's another thing as well about, apparently after the Fulham game, the lads were like, no, we want a day off on Sunday, and they were all
Yeah.
revolting against Ten Hag.
Yeah.
I was watching, obviously, Keane on the over, or let's not talk about football, or stick to football. And it came out about Roy Keane and Giggs having a falling out for 6 months.
Didn't affect the pitch.
Didn't affect them at all, did it?
Sure, Keane and Schmeichel battered each other.
Yeah. In a
Nicky Butt
hotel,
was the
yeah, yeah,
referee. And never did it once affect them on the pitch. Andy Cole and Teddy Sheringham couldn't stand each other.
Yeah.
Well, Cole had a big problem with Sheringham. Sheringham not so much with Cole, but
Yeah.
them
I
boys.
think there was a psychological kind of gaslighting thing with Sheringham towards Cole.
Yeah, there was. Sheringham wasn't very nice to Cole, and I kind of see Cole's side for that. He was making his debut for England. That's what it stemmed from.
And he didn't shake
And
his
he
hand.
wouldn't shake his hand. What a disrespectful thing to do, like.
Yeah.
And I love Andy Cole. So
And Andy Cole said, even I think 2 or 3 days ago in an interview, that just look, he said, we live in a time where people are talking consistently about stats. What about, he said, look at my stats. He said, look at my assists and look at my goals. He said, and I should be up there, and I'm not getting the measure I'm not being measured by the same yardstick as everyone else is in my career. And he has a right to say that, and I think he's bang on. And he was like, he was being interviewed, and he was asked, why do you think that is? And he was just like, politics, man. But we know why. Racism is alive and well, particularly in sport culture, still is.
That's very sad to have that association. First ever name I got in a Man United jersey was Cole. I think his number when he joined us was 17.
Yeah, that's right.
And even as a kid, you play football, like, the racism card never come in. It's like, oh, I'm Cole, and nobody would ever say, you can't be Cole.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like I tell you, like as recently as about 15 years ago, I remember being in the pub and people shouting racist stuff at the television.
They still do.
You black bee.
That's disgusting.
I know.
Hurts my soul. Like.
Yeah, like it's shocking. It's unbelievable. Anyway, moving on from that. What's gardening leave?
I've heard that word so many times in the last couple of weeks. Everyone's on gardening leave.
I know what it means in employment, but I don't know if it means the same thing. Who's on gardening leave?
Like
Dan Ashworth.
Dan Ashworth.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it does. I worked for one Fortune 500 company once upon a time, and then I was offered a role in another Fortune 500 company.
Right.
And when I went to say, "Hey, I'm leaving," they were like, "When? In a month. Who are you going with?" The other guys, the competitors. Oh, okay. Well, don't worry about working your month. What we're gonna do is get security to rough you up a little bit, throw you out downstairs, and slander you. No, they didn't. They were lovely about it. But that's what they did. We're like, "Look, I'm your manager. I'm gonna have to walk you to the door. You no longer work for this company, but you will still be paid."
And you sign an NDA for a little
Yes.
while.
And then, if you're ever found to shit talk the other company, you're liable for it. So that's it. They just, because they're rivals, they don't want you knowing the ins and outs of what's going on within the organisation. So obviously Newcastle now making shapes. Don't want Ashworth to know what's what. And
Shakes.
Might have to making sheiks and shakes. I can't. It might be more so about the fucking level of corruption and in the Saudi state and stuff that he may know about that more than anything else. But
or
He just doesn't want to be, cut up in his house or something.
yeah, he doesn't want to be beheaded.
Yeah.
he could be planting flowers or
Yeah, gardening, but yeah,
literally
Zone-
gardening.
So it's like the zone of interest, basically, in Dan Ashworth's house, where he's just like out gardening while over the garden fence there's like murder happening.
How are you, Dan?
In
Oh,
Saudi
good.
Arabia.
Just gardening.
Just doing me gardening leave. Right, there's a couple of tough questions that we need to talk about. And I was really hoping that we wouldn't have to bring this up again. But what do we do with the squad at the end of the season, regardless of where we finish? Like, is it a partial rebuild of all of that? Is Ratcliffe going to just rip it apart and put it back together again?
They should.
Is it a partial thing? Should 5 or 6 players go, or should it be a case of him totally restructuring the club from top to bottom, including the first team squad, and obviously they can't. They're not in a position to terminate people's contracts necessarily. I don't think they'll do that. But what happens there? Do they, 5, 6, 8 players go out on loan? Do we cut our losses and sell them? And then the thing about it is the Man United tax or whatever. Do we have the money to replace everyone for similar money to bring them back in? I don't think we do.
The problem with cutting your losses and selling people is it really fucks up your financial fair play.
So they won't be able to because of the FFP anyway.
Yeah.
Are we not? Because I'm not entirely sure. Really
Let one go, bring one in. That's the logic.
That's the logic. Because I thought it was what your club earns per year, not just through sales, but through revenue. And it's still my understanding. Right. And I was very confused as to why Man United were playing ball in the FFP, because we are still within the elite 3 richest clubs in the world, up there with Real Madrid, and I can't remember the other one. So I don't exactly know why we're concerned about FFP. By the basis of that logic, what we make a year in revenue and ad revenue, Man United should still theoretically be able to sell Harry Maguire for £1 tomorrow, right, and sign Mbappe for 240 million without really hurting financial fair play based on the worldwide revenue we generate. Or have I got that completely wrong?
It's probably the extortionate transfer fees that we're still paying off all these years later.
I think it's because it's that we haven't, in terms of our actual business dealings and transactions, that they haven't been fully ratified, as in we haven't fully paid for certain players that we're
still paying off Lukaku.
Yeah, it's like leasing it's like buying a car on the HP and then selling the car and then someone else taking on the repayments or committing to fulfill those payments on top of paying you for the car. So that's the logic as I understand it.
That very well be. My friend Charlie McNally explained it to me very, very well, and then when he explained it to me, I completely understood it. But now I'm gone back to my way of thinking. Yeah, but aren't we not the?
I don't know.
Are we actually still playing for Lukaku? Is that true?
Yeah, I read it somewhere recently.
But we were adamant about getting a fee for Sanchez that cleared his wage bill, right?
Yeah.
But jeez, I didn't know we were still paying for Lukaku.
I believe Lukaku's a free agent. We can get him back in.
Him and Igalo.
Just for the chant.
I'd actually, hot take as well, I'd have Lukaku back tomorrow. I love Lukaku.
I liked him. No. I don't think he got the service. And look, it's a wonder he could kick a ball at all with those feet. It's the size of his feet. Yeah. Did you ever see the video with Juan Mata? It was like an elf from an elf workshop. Still trying his shoes on. He's like he was wearing clown feet.
No, it's half the squad needs to be cleared out. Yeah. Starting with, I think we have a few names in our
looking at here, man. Who would you take? Who would you send home?
Marcus Rashford, first of all. I think we were just talking just before we got on here that we were just sick of it. Absolutely sick. He could lie in the centre circle with a fucking book and a pina colada for 90 minutes and he'd still get picked the next week.
Yeah.
It's just outrageous.
Would you look, he'd go easily for 50 million to PSG, especially with Mbappe heading off to Madrid, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And that'd make the way for somebody.
And no malice or anything, it's just it's not working out, and just you can't build a team around him. And if you want to be ruthless and you want to rebuild this properly, you need to get rid of the shit on the floor, like you said.
Yeah. So. I think we are saying this in the group. Marcus Rashford is one of the most impressive human beings that have ever represented Man United. He is a good lad that has done incredible things, but you're either a footballer or you're not. Yeah. And maybe his life outside of football is far more important than football. For all his charity, he's done the 1% wage that everybody's donating to his cause. He's done amazing things, but you're still there to play football, Marcus. So what's going on? Are you
nice guy, good father? Fuck you. Go home and play with your kids.
We can commend him.
AIDA, Marcus.
Yeah, you can commend him for all that, but what you have to think of is what's happening on the pitch. And you have to be ruthless at that level, I guess.
Would you have my answer is yes. I would have a dirtbag.
You're asking me, you're telling me.
Well, I'm asking what's your answer, but I'd have a dirtbag Suarez spitting at people and doing what he had to do if he was like an equivalent to that at Man United. Who was successful as opposed to a really nice lad who's not doing anything.
Yeah, I'd rather Tevez in there, just a mercenary who'll do the job.
Tevez.
Genuinely. I was watching some clips of Tevez recently, and he was like, he didn't give a fuck. Yeah. He just give me the ball, bang, goal.
Yeah.
That's the type of player we need.
Do you follow him on Instagram?
No, is he insane?
He always wears a Man United gear.
Does he?
Does he?
Yeah.
After what
Why-
he said about Fergie. Not shocking.
Does he really?
He does, yeah.
That's really
He
disappointing.
had the
Because we could have had him for another 6-7 years. He kept playing up until 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and he was still scoring
he
a
was
lot.
relentless. Even at Juventus after City, he was one of my favourite players. I think my favourite ever signing because I knew him
Yeah.
before.
Kettleneck, you know him personally.
Yeah, we were good friends with him. We went to high school together.
we were both in a home for boys. I loved him. We need someone like that. Someone with fucking just a bit of bite. Like it's like the
Suarez.
no offense. Nom nom nom. Someone who's just gonna fucking grab the rest of them and just lead by example. Like listen, Wayne Rooney was on Stick to Football, and he was talking about, you know, him coming into the dressing room and they were doing their dancing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Lingard, Rashford, Pogba kind of brigade. You know, and absolutely nothing to do with their heritage or anything, but just the idea of them being a disruptory influence in the dressing room, and Rooney going in and turning it off and going, look, let's focus, and the lads ignoring him and then doing it again. Like if the club captain's coming in and saying no,
Yeah.
and they're still doing it, and you're fining people wages and they're not. It's player, like surely the problem overall with Man United over the last couple of years is the player power issue. Like it is. It's the players who are on high wages who know they can't be sacked.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want.
Yep.
We're gonna do what
We
we
rule
want.
this place.
Yeah.
Was when Mourinho came in and he signed Pogba and he brought Ibrahimovic in this year. And I remember seeing this interview, and Gary Lineker quoted it as well. Henri was interviewing Ibrahimovic, and Pogba walked by, and Ibrahimovic, sit here with the big boys, come on. And Pogba was so sheepish and intimidated. And they were like, they were basically roasting Pogba.
Yeah.
And you could tell, like, Ibrahimovic was a new player, but he was the locker room leader.
Yeah.
And even Eric Bailly would mess doing, I think they're both into taekwondo.
Yeah.
And Bailly kicked him and got him hard, and then Bailly froze, like, in fear. He was, oh, no, don't go, man. It was only... That's the whole Ibrahimovic had, even at the PSG locker room. And then he left, and things just started falling apart. But he had a bit of a mature chokehold on that dressing room with Rooney. I can imagine Lingard doing a stupid dance in front of, like, Ibrahimovic, and he'd be ashamed to do it, I reckon.
Yeah. I just think that, you know, it's indicative of men of that age. You know, they lack focus and follow through. You know, they've they're thinking about other things. You know, it's that thing where the commercial side of the club and social media is more interesting to them than individual accolades in
It's a
football.
whole new generation of player, you know, where you're not a football player, you're a brand.
I mean, ideally, if we had 11, you know, leeches, we'd be, you know, like fucking the monster squad, you know, just winning everything, killing everyone. But they just don't exist. Do they exist?
No.
Like, why is it Liverpool and City seem to, like, what is it? Is it a psychological, mental toughness, or are they just nicer kids that they're getting?
Does the manager have a stronger effect on them? I mean, they're two elite managers in.
Because, like,
Jurgen Klopp.
well, Ten Hag, isn't that what he does? Like, didn't he make those bold managerial type big decisions, like fuck Ronaldo out and take the captaincy off Maguire? So what is it? Like, is it just the lads going, you know, in Fergie's era, they would lose they would be moved on, they'd be gone.
Yeah.
He'd find a way to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Like, how do we fix this? Do we bring more players in and then the same thing happens again and the cycle begins again? How does that reset? Or is it just, are United doomed now?
I think it starts with Kobe Mainoo, Garnacho, and although we've bought him for a lot of money, Rasmus, I think that's the start of where it comes to be. I don't think signing superstars like Casemiro past their prime is the way to go anymore now. I feel like that's harsh on Casemiro because he was our player of the season last year. He was great, really liked him. Now I'm looking at a man who's way out of his depth. His small legacy is going to be tarnished because I feel like he's looking to get himself sent off or get off the pitch when he's on it. He's just...
It's almost like
off
he's
the
looking
pace.
to create an untenable position at United where they move him on, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what that petulance is.
And if he goes, thank you for your amazing season with us and best of luck
He's a
in
great
Saudi
player.
Arabia.
He's cult status because he looked like he cared for a year.
He did care, to be fair. Like, Varane, I was really excited about. Did he care as much as Casemiro?
I don't know, if you win the World Cup,
Probably,
does
I
it
mean,
really matter?
You don't win 5 Champions Leagues if you don't have a good mentality, you know. But I
Well,
think the first
look.
step to fixing it all is, I guess, selling half of them to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
You know, get the money in,
And according to Rio Ferdinand, get Arteta in to manage fucking United.
get the Duolingo out, lads, and off you go.
They should stop letting Rio Ferdinand have opinions on stuff. Arteta's at the wheel.
Yeah, Rio
That was a
Ferdinand.
weird comment.
Rio, God love him. And I've always been in the Vidic over Rio camp. Always. When he was at United. You know, he was like you know, in my opinion, Vidic would do a lot of the heavy lifting, and then Ferdinand would just swan out of the box with the ball a lot. That was my understanding of what I witnessed with Ferdinand and Vidic.
Well, they complemented each other.
Yeah, I loved them as a duo.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike Ferdinand. I just think that Ferdinand is very comfortable being taking all the praise of that era of being the main defender at that time. He didn't I just think Vidic was impenetrable. He was brilliant. Yeah, and Rio Ferdinand is prone to stupid comment online. Just like,
Wonder what he was thinking when he said that. Like, what's the thought process here?
I don't know.
I wonder if he got home
If
thinking,
there is one.
what are they saying?
No, but he doubled down on it too.
And just another interesting thing I want to talk about. You know, fan channels. The likes of United Stand and Stratford Paddock and Howson and all the lads.
Cult of Cantona.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I don't know. Are we the same as them? I don't know. I think we talk a little bit more from the heart, and we're genuine kind of fans, and we don't have a vested interest in making money or pushing agendas. So I think we are different. I think there's a possibility if we were to grow out to that level. Who knows? We certainly don't have any influence. Like, do they have a negative influence on fans? Because, and I've noticed it even at some events that we were doing, when chatting to some of the ex-players, they were like making references to these type of things, saying that it's not helping. You know, it's not helping the players when they're playing badly, because it's turning the fans against them.
Yeah, I think Goldbridge has sway, and I don't like that he has sway. I think once he gets an opinion, I think people send, because a lot of the time when I get sent something, it'll be a Goldbridge video. Somebody will be saying, "Oh, this player is shit." Like, "Oh, he's on his day," and then bang, YouTube clip, Goldbridge.
But he does get his, like, you know, his reach from his sensationalism, I guess. So it's not a really opinion you should be listening to, I guess.
Yeah, I'd look. Yeah, there's a lot of money involved in what they do. Those guys do a lot of live shows. I'll tell you one podcast that I really enjoy, and for Irish viewers and listeners that are listening to this, there's two great podcasts: The Promised Land and what's the other one with Andy Mitten? The Athletic one, Talk of the Devils.
Yeah.
They're great, very measured, real fan-led, not looking for praise, not looking for individual kind of attention type led podcasts that speak a lot of sense. They're very fact driven, and they come and they're journalists. They're journos. They're not sensationalists. They're not Eamon Dunphys. You know, he's a cod. You know, they're in it for the right. They seem to be in it for the right reasons. And Andy Mitten is the man. And if he's watching, we'd love to have you on. You know, and they're doing it for the right reasons, and they're consistent with their content, and they're passionate, which is most important. But the Stratford Paddock lads are, you know, sometimes I'm watching them and literally they're contradicting themselves from one end of the podcast or show to the other.
Yeah,
and you're like, what the fuck? Which side are you on, lads? You know, well, like, what's your take on all that, Paul? Do you like them? Do you listen to them, or are they just kind of clickbait and you watch a minute here and there?
you know, I actually legit try to stay away from a lot of them because I feel it's all just negative and digging United out of it. And yeah, I'm guilty of it as well at times, but I don't want to hear it on. I'd love to hear a bit more praise for little bits and pieces of it. Just every time the most I get is Goldbridge clips, United Stand, and he's just ranting and raving.
Just kicking a dog when they're down stuff, you know?
It's also very, very rude to people on his when they text him with stuff. His responses to people just get on my nerves. I can't stand that channel.
Yeah. And, you know, Goldbridge should be sounder because he lived in Ireland for a while. right. Bruno Fernandes and the throwing his hands in the air festival over the last weeks.
Yeah. Did you see the clip of Morgan with the refs after
Which one?
After the Fulham game, after full time? It's just not a good look, you know. Especially if you're supposed to be out there setting an example. And I don't know. What do you think? Like in hindsight, was it a good option to choose him as captain?
I questioned this, and then I thought, who else? And then I went through the team.
Johnny Evans.
Be the most qualified, to be fair.
No, like my take on Bruno is very simple. I think Bruno cares a lot, but I think that he particularly in other clubs he played in, he had a freedom to kind of give people a dig out all the time. And I think that in a way, he tries too much, and there's a bit of Robbie Keane in him. In the same way when Robbie Keane was playing for Ireland, Robbie Keane would be often straight out of position trying to get the ball back and then getting very frustrated, and his hands would be in the air and he'd be getting really annoyed. And the shades of that. So when I have been to Old Trafford and watching Bruno, or even just, because you see an awful lot more when you're at a game, obviously. So you see off the ball stuff and behaviours and stuff. And Bruno is constantly annoyed. And the reason why he's constantly annoyed could be because he cares the most. But the problem with that is if you try to be all things to all people, you're nothing to anyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening to him now, and the frustration of that, where he's literally trying to, do everything and get the ball out to, recover the ball. He's playing deeper when he should just be, there should be someone like a Keane in the middle, or someone just telling him to stay where he fucking is. Stay there. Yeah. Let me do that work.
Well, there's something to be said about, of course, I don't think anyone questions his love and his commitment to the football club, at all. And, definitely it is probably him trying too hard, but that's something he should be improving on.
Yeah.
Is my it's not enough of an excuse just to go, oh, he's just passionate. He should be setting a better example, and that's something he should be working on to be better at, because it's not good enough,
Yeah.
He may be maybe our very best player at the moment, and I know a lot of fans really love him. I never really warmed to Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
Never really loved him as much as the other United
because
fans.
he looks like a rodent? You don't
little
trust
bit,
rodents?
Little bit.
Insulting all our
is he world class?
Appearances on this podcast.
Ooh.
Is Bruno Fernandes world class? Does he walk into a Real Madrid team? Does he walk into a City team? I mean, is he an elite player, or is he our best player and he's not quite elite?
Is he a Bernardo Silva? No, he's not. He isn't.
He's probably the level below that, but he's a fantastic football player, and I'm a big fan. It's just that one thing that he probably needs to stamp out, just to be what he can be, just back off a little.
Yeah, just
it might actually improve
player position.
Yeah.
Big one to finish on. New Trafford or Old Trafford?
Oh, I'd be so sad if you get rid of Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ratcliffe wants it based on his interview.
He does.
Obviously, obviously.
We're exploring options,
obviously, and obviously, of course.
It seems to be the cheaper option, is to actually build a new stadium.
I think
I don't know how that works.
I think and it'll be a quicker process, because we'll stay in Old Trafford while the other thing shoots up, and then we'll just move over. And the logic, I think it's great in terms of kind of campus Man United, and the idea of having that, and then having that stadium for the WSL ladies team.
Yeah.
But and that, there's no negatives from it. I think there's no negatives if we refurbish anyway, but I think it's purely a costing financial decision to build another stadium, because if they refurbish United, then they're going to have to invest in other stuff for the women's team, and and the infrastructure around that. So I think it's a cost-effective move to. But then again, I'm hearing stories from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium where they're like, lads, you put your glass down and the beer appears from the bottom to the top. And I like that type of stuff.
I've seen those in
That's what I was saying. It's time for a new stadium. Old Trafford's a kip, so
I don't know. The thing about it is all of our memories. The logic behind not moving to a new stadium would be, the Busby Babes played there.
Eric Jemba played there.
Eric Jemba, Kleberson scored. Oberton.
Running down the wing.
Yeah.
Some absolute legends of the game.
No, but all joking aside. Yeah. Greening.
Johnny Greening.
But do we, does nostalgia get you anywhere? Like City would have been harder for City to move had they have been more successful before, like during the main road time.
I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
I think
Ajax did it very successfully, by the way, from Demir to the arena.
Well, Arsenal did it after Highbury, and Tottenham did it after White Hart
I'm talking
Lane,
about
you know,
real football clubs. Ajax did it.
but there is an argument to be made that Old Trafford's probably a lot more iconic than, you know, maybe Highbury, but like.
But have you
the
not heard
others
the song "Old Trafford Has Fallen Down"?
Yeah.
Erik Ten Hag's.
Oh, it definitely needs something, you know, just even a new lick of paint or something. But that's probably not enough. It needs probably a new stadium.
I wonder what Old Trafford does need to be up to code to be considered one of the, like. Why is St James's Park fine, and Old Trafford's not fine?
They have better
Why
chicken.
is it not
because
considered?
of the railroad behind it.
Yeah.
The same logic of the Aviva being poorly redeveloped because the council. That's
Couldn't
exactly
touch-
why. So
Couldn't touch the railroad.
there's issues with the side, like the adjoining council areas very nearby, as I understand, are the railroads in Salford there. So, I mean, there's two arguments. Would it be like the Bernabeu? I don't even think if it was redeveloped, it would get anywhere near that. That's incredible what they've pulled off. Or would it be better to do a fresh new build? We can, like the Old Trafford. Like, I think I'd be more upset if they were to demolish Old Trafford and build a new stadium. But if it was still there at
I mean, the only argument for keeping Old Trafford is the sentimentality. You know,
they would. That's the thing. I think that's the.
But
logic.
that's a really big argument.
But that's
like,
the
it's
logic.
really
That's the
important.
logic that they're using, is like, we're not going to destroy it. It'll be there for the ladies.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the logic to coax us into wanting a new stadium, because
I think there's a bigger
because
picture.
we're not going to desecrate the grave. You know.
I think there's a bigger picture on Old Trafford, and it just being for nostalgia. It's still one of the biggest stadiums in England. Well, it's only smaller than Wembley.
The second biggest capacity stadium in the UK.
It's not just about being iconic or having all that history. It is still, even at its worst, an incredible stadium.
But not good enough for the Euros.
Oh, it wasn't
It
given.
wasn't selected, no.
No, it wasn't.
Only the new stadiums.
Yeah.
I think that's down to kind of wheelchair facilities and things like that, or you know,
Like
European
that, I
stadiums.
feel like that's something that could be upgraded readily quick. Like they know what the expectation is. So get to work on that, getting it up to code to accommodate for everybody who needs it to be accommodated for. Starting with that at the very least. But
I think the danger is that it turns into like one of these houses where, you know, do you ever see council houses that have, and I was raised in a council house, so it's not an anti-working class sentiment here, but the idea of them building out an extension through the attic, and it's like, it looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Like, there's only so much you can build on and out with Old Trafford, you know, because of the nature of how the structural integrity of it all is. I think that's more of an issue there. I mean, like, they'd have to, as I understand it, to do major work on the structural integrity of the stand. So you might as well start anew. I think that's the kind of logic from engineers and architects that they've been getting. It's like, just buy a bit of land and build one. Yeah. So
would they call it New Trafford?
I
They're
would.
better.
So would I. I used to play LMA manager and make a new stadium for Man United, New Trafford.
Bit better.
It makes sense. Guys, if you like the show and you like the cut of our collective jibs, there's a couple of ways you can support us. You can subscribe on Spotify. You can get us on buymeacoffee.com/Cult of Cantona, and become a member and throw us a few quid, and we'll continue to talk pub talk on camera for you, and you can slag us off privately with your mates. Subscribe, share, subscribe on YouTube as well, and tell a pal about us. Anything to add?
No, I think you said it all. Tell
Yeah.
it all.
Well put.
Right, we'll catch you next time, and hopefully Bruno's hands will be down by his sides. Take care, guys. Bye.